If you're a thinking person today, it's more important than ever to understand Russia, its history, its geopolitics, and its culture. The enormous, ancient, and incredibly complex country is currently living through one of its periods of intense self-identification, in many ways struggling to survive and restructure itself. I'm Daniel Veksler, and I'm here to help you understand Russia better and without bias. Russia, which is roughly 1,250 years old as a self-identifying state, which is about 4.5 times the age of the United States, is currently ruled by Vladimir Putin and his circle, his apparatus, as Russians refer to any government. Putin, who is 62 today, began his career in 1975, when he graduated from Leningrad State University Law School and was already a member of the Communist Party of the USSR, and he was offered a job in the National Security Committee of the Soviet Union, better known as the KGB. We will come back to the KGB and its various incarnations time and time again on Understand Russia. Putin quickly grew up the KGB ranks, and at the height of the period known as restructuring or perestroika, from 1985 to 1990, that period of radical reform in the Soviet Union that led to the fall of the Berlin Wall and to the collapse of the USSR, he was stationed in East Germany. Throughout the 90s, Vladimir Putin continued working in the newly reconstituted post-USSR KGB, which is now called the FSB, the Federal Security Service, and at the same time he worked in the city administration of Russia's second capital, my hometown and Putin's, St. Petersburg. He facilitated and brokered partnerships between Western investors and Russia, and was instrumental in the founding of the first Russian currency exchange, as well as the opening of the first Russian bank funded by foreign capital. In the mid-90s, he moved from St. Petersburg to Moscow, and a couple of years later, his career mysteriously took off with a new turbocharged power. In late March of '97, Putin is appointed an assistant head of the presidential administration. Just over a year later, in late May of '98, he is promoted to first assistant head of the presidential administration. Another 2 months later, in July of '98, Putin is appointed director of the Federal Security Service. And in March of '99, he also takes on the role of secretary of the President's Security Council. Then, in August of the same year, Putin becomes the Prime Minister of Russia. On December 31st of that same year, 1999, a couple of months before constitutionally guaranteed elections are to take place, President Boris Yeltsin, the world-renowned champion of Russian democracy, resigns as president, and according to the democratic constitution of 1993, Prime Minister Vladimir Putin becomes acting president. When elections do take place a few months later, Putin wins by an uncontested landslide. In May of 2000, Vladimir Putin leaves all his other posts and assumes the presidency. The other key positions are occupied by various faithful partners and some members of the old Yeltsin circle, some of them because they too are loyal, some because they require placation for the time being. Vladimir Putin went on to serve the 2 consecutive 4-year terms allowed by the 1993 Constitution. Then, in 2008, he technically traded places with his old friend, Prime Minister Dmitry Medvedev, for one 4-year term. In December 2008, that same year, the Constitution was amended by the Russian Parliament, the Duma, at the suggestion of President Medvedev, to increase the presidential term from 4 to 6 years, and to take out the clause about 2 consecutive terms. These changes were to become effective as of the following presidential term. In 2012, Putin once again won by an overwhelming majority of votes that almost miraculously approached the 100% mark, an unheard-of figure in elections that featured 5 candidates and during the course of which Putin himself never once personally participated in a single debate. My friends, we have touched on the tip of an enormous iceberg. Next time on Understand Russia, we will look at the man who toppled the empire of evil and finally brought democracy to the long-suffering peoples of Russia, Putin's predecessor and appointer, the towering, often swaying figure of Boris Yeltsin.